Shalom, Israel. This is Bishop Nathaniel. The Israelites have been scattered across the four corners of the earth, as prophesied in Deuteronomy, the 20th chapter. Here in Israel United in Christ, we need your help to recover the remnant of our people, teach them the gospel. Please help us, support us, and join or donate to the Booster Club today. Shalom.
What's going on, young man? What's going on? You go to church at all? Not that much. You heard? You do you believe in the Bible? You read the Bible. You read the whole Bible? Okay. How old are you? 12. Okay. And no one teaches you about the Bible at all? Do you believe in God? What's your beliefs in God? Come on, come closer, man. Come talk to me. What you believe about God? He do you good, right? Okay, in what ways? Give you good luck. So what you would call a blessing, right? Give me blessed is he to give the commandments. Watch this. Because a lot of times, you being younger, you young, stuff like that, so you haven't been as in tune. A lot of our people, so you young. I'm a little older. My generation, we grew up going to church. We was forced to go to church. You know what I'm saying? Sat there, we fall asleep in that mud, we get thumped upside the head. You better wake up, make you go up past the collection plate, take a little change up there, walk up there and drop that in the bucket, things like that. That was taught to us at my generation growing up, the older people. Now we notice that the younger, the more and more as the years go by, our younger generation of our people are disconnected from God because the parents have been disconnected. Because a lot of times your parents might be my age or a little older and went through some of the things that I went through. But because as time goes on, we have been told lies, we've been told things that aren't the truth, and we tend to stray away from trying to seek God and seek the truth, right? So we end up believing things that how we see them, because no one's ever actually sat up here and showed us what God is, what he's like, what he requires of us as a people. Give me that.
Book of Revelations, chapter 22, verse 14. Blessed are they that do his commandments.
So he said he gives you good luck, right? God said you're going to be blessed. You're going to get your blessings when you keep his commandments, right? So us as a people, we didn't know that we are the children of God, right? Because in America, what do they tell our people? Are we all one, or are we all different people? We all different people, right? But if you sit up here and say, okay, what's your nationality? We ask you that. What's your nationality? Your nationality. What's your race? What would you call yourself as a race of people? Black and Mexican. And Puerto Rican? What's the nationality of your father? Is he black or is he Mexican or is he Puerto Rican? He's black, right? So, according to the Bible, your nationality or your bloodline goes on who your father is, right? So that means you would be so-called black. The whole thing, they like to tell us that we mix and all this other stuff because that's another way to try to assimilate us as a people. At the end of the day, this country, this nation doesn't want us to rise up and come and stand together as a nation of people. You don't see a lot of things where it's just black people doing stuff. You go to the grocery store, the white people own it, right? You go on one side of town, you go to a neighborhood, and you see a white neighborhood, you see a black neighborhood. One looks different than the other, right? One's clean and nice and got nice houses, nice cars. Then you get to the neighborhood where you see your people at. Houses a little dirty, dirt and trash in the street, cars raggedy, beat down, people hanging out in the corners, doing things like that, right? We, as a nation of people, they keep us in those poverty-stricken things, but then as America, they tell us we all one. They tell us God love everybody, things like that, right? So, saying your dad is a black American, right? Where would you see that on the sign right here? American, black American. right here, right? So on that side of the sign, that's what the world calls us as a people, right? But on this side, this is what the Bible calls us. So you would be from the tribe of Judah, right? Now you heard of Jesus Christ, right? Which one of those pictures is Jesus? That one right there with the thorns on his head, right? Okay. Now, has anybody ever showed you out the Bible if that's what he looks like? You see some movies, see TV shows, pictures of him, right? And they said, that's Jesus. Who is he supposed to be? The Son of God, right? So I'm gonna go into the Bible, and you're gonna learn something right now. I'm glad you stopped. You're gonna learn something. We're gonna go into the Bible and actually read what he looks like. Watch this.
The book of Revelations, chapter 1 and verse 1. The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must surely come to pass.
So this is saying the revelation of Jesus Christ, meaning to reveal what he's looking like, right? So go to 14.
Verse 14, his head and his hairs were white like wool.
So it said his head and his hairs were white in color, woolly in textures. I mean, the hair on his head, the hair on his face were white and woolly like a sheep, right? Which one of those two pictures has white, woolly hair? What about that one on the end? That one. Look at his hair. Look at it. What does it look like? Look like an afro, right? Look like my hair, right? Or your hair. That's kind of what your hair looks like, right? Woolly hair. What race of people in the world are known for having that texture of hair? Black people, right? So in the Bible, the Bible says Jesus has the hair like black people. He don't look like a black man to me, right? That's what we taught that he looks like. It's going to go even further to show you, other than just his hair. Keep reading.
His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow.
Yep.
And his eyes were as a flame of fire.
So now that's not talking about he shoot laser beams out his eyes. Jesus Christ is known, his first miracle was turning water into wine. You think he didn't drink some of that wine? You know, black folks, when we drink a little wine, I know you're young, when we drink a little wine, the whites of our eyes turn different color. They turn red. So that's what it's saying about Christ. It says eyes are red with wine. So that's strike two for this one, because you never see his eyes red like that, right? So far it's describing something else than what you've been taught, right? Keep reading.
And his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass.
So if you took your shoes off and looked at the top of your feet, what color are your feet, right? The brown. They're the same color as the rest of your skin, right? You know what color brass is? Brass. Okay, like a penny. You seen a penny, right? Same color as a penny, right? So he said his feet was like the color of brass. Like you see, my man's right here. He walked up with sandals. What's going on, bro? You got some questions? Go on, stay a while, man. We going over what the true image of Christ is talking about. We showing this young man the truth, because point to the one you said Jesus was. The first time. You said Jesus was that one, right? So now, we reading out the Bible, the real depiction of what he looks like. So we trying to teach this young brother to get that right there, that slave mentality out of his mind. Because you know why you think that that's Jesus Christ? Because all our people, since the time we was brought over here on slave ships, been taught. When we've been taught, the reason why we think that this is Jesus is because we've been taught that these things through slavery that's the image of God, right? That's the reason why we think those things. So read from 14 again. 14.
Book of Revelations, chapter 1, verse 14. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire.
So we established that Jesus Christ has the same hair texture as the black man, right? Can you read it?
And his feet like unto fine brass.
So the brother who just was standing here was wearing sandals. You can see the top of his feet. They were the color of brass, right? Brass is a derivative of brown, just like a penny, just like a saxophone, a trombone, things like that. Same color, right? Can you read it?
As if they burned in a furnace.
So if you took a penny or a piece of brass and threw it in a fire, When you take it out of the fire, what's it going to look like? What color would it be? But so if you burn something, what color does it turn? Black, right? So what he's just saying is that brass color is so dark that it looked like it burned in a furnace, meaning Jesus Christ was a dark-skinned man. He was a black man. That's what the Bible's saying. So when you pointed at this one right here, he's a white man. What we just read out the Bible? We just read that Christ is a black man. So with that being said, those things that you've been seeing those images in the world, but no one's ever explained these things to you. That's why we coming out here so we can show you, so you can show you the truth, because being an Israelite is an important thing. According to the Bible, we are God's chosen people. Give me Deuteronomy 7:6. We ain't gonna lie. We ain't gonna use our own words, because that's what you hear every day, right? Someone's opinion and not the truth. No one ever pulls anything out and shows it to you firsthand. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna read it out of the book that everyone says they believe in. Watch this.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7 and verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself.
So God said he's chosen the Israelites to be a special people unto himself. That means he's not talking about everyone else. That one race of people that he put on this earth, the Israelites, they special. He chose them. Watch this.
Above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
He said that those people that he chose, that tribe of Judah right there, Benjamin, Levi, what you said your father was, right? And that means that's you too. He said, y'all above all people that's on the face of the earth. So everyone on that sign is above everybody. So you said you part Mexican, you part Puerto Rican, they on the sign too. So our people, the blacks, the Hispanics, and the Native Americans, God said we better than everybody else basically. And in the society today, if you was to walk amongst your friends or go to school and say, you know what, God said I'm better than y'all because I'm an Israelite. They will call you racist. They will tell you wrong for that. They will tell you try to change your mind. But that's what the Bible says. That's what God says. A lot of those same people that's going to try to tell you to think otherwise, they say they believe in this book too. You know what I'm saying? So where do you fall on there? You fall in the spot where you go that God said you're going to get that salvation. God said all you got to do is keep my commandments. Give me Proverbs 7:2. Watch this. He said keep my commandments. That's all he's talking. That's all he wants our people to do. Because when we didn't keep God's commandments, God put us in slavery. And we're going to read that too. Read that.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 7, verse 2. Keep my commandments and live.
Keep my commandments and live. When you probably don't pay attention to the news and things like that, right? You probably don't watch news channels. You on Facebook though, right? You got Facebook, so when you scroll down Facebook, you might see some videos of our people being handled by the police and things, right? Our people are getting shot and killed. You hear about things like Breonna Taylor, things like that. Because I know most of our people now is connected to when it comes to social media. So even the youth, you say you're only 12 and you see this stuff every day on your Facebook timeline. Those things are happening because we're not keeping God's commandments. He said, keep my commandments and live. So the reason why we're dying as a nation of people is because we don't know God's commandments and we're not keeping them. Give me Deuteronomy 28:1. I'm going to show you this out the Bible. Because this Bible right here is not a fairy tale book. It has stories in it, and a lot of times these stories are misinterpreted because people aren't keeping God's commandments. So God doesn't give them the understanding. But these brothers that you see up here, me and these brothers, we keep God's commandments. So God told us to come out here and teach our people. So watch what he said, because we just read that God said his people is above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Watch this. Read that.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 1.
Yep.
And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth.
So God said, this is Moses talking to his people after he parted the Red Sea. You heard about Moses, right? You know what he did in Egypt, how he parted the Red Sea, said, let my people go to the Pharaoh. You heard about that before, right? You ever seen a movie called Prince of Egypt? I think you got an old cartoon movie, right? A lot of us seen that because they teach us that in church. So Moses, after he saved his people, He sat up here and told them, like, look, if you keep God's commandments and do everything he tells us to do after we left up out of here, that God was going to put us above all people that are upon the face of the earth. He said, we going to be the ones that's lending people the money. We going to be the ones that's making the laws of the land. We going to be the ones that everyone comes to for knowledge, wisdom, and instruction, right? But there's a flip side to it, right? Give me verse 15.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, and verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So God said on the flip side of keeping his commandments, if you don't listen, if you don't keep his commandments, he said he's going to put curses on his people. Tell me, is a curse a good thing or a bad thing? It's a bad thing, right? So when you start to read in this chapter, which we're going to get some curses about it here, you start to see what God's talking about, who he's talking to his people. Give me verse 46 to start off with, because this is one of the most important chapters of the Bible that you can read. And a lot of times when you talk to our people about this, when we go to church and things like that, they skip over this because this is something that's taught to keep us from understanding who we really are. You never knew that you were from the tribe of Judah. You called yourself black, Mexican, and Puerto Rican. You was mixed. You 3 different things in one. And those things is not what God calls us. But watch this. Read that, 46.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 46. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
All right, so he said that these curses that we read out of this chapter are going to be upon us for a sign, right? So when you look over at the Boost Mobile store, right, you wouldn't know that that's the Boost Mobile store if it didn't put that sign right there, right? So God's saying the same thing about our people. He said, you won't know who the Israelites are in the last days unless these signs are upon us as a people. So the curses that he put upon the children of Israel is going to let you know as an identifier. You're going to be able to identify yourself in this Bible by what's happening to us as a people. Give me verse 16.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 16. Cursed shalt thou be in the city.
It said, cursed shall we be in the city. When you look at us in this city of Grand Rapids, who are the main people that's living in poverty? You can say it. When you go, so what type of neighborhood would you say you live in? Is it a nice neighborhood? Is it quiet? Is there a lot of people? It's what? It's the hood. So who's cursed in the city? Because you don't never hear no white people say, look, I'm from the hood. When they go home, they're in their neighborhood, they're in their community. And when you go to a community, all of them got their grass cut and their nice houses and their nice cars and things like that. They have nice jobs, they're able to come home to their families in peace, right? You say you live in the hood. Ain't no peace in the hood. You got people driving around with their cars loud, their music loud, thumping, people doing drive-bys and shooting. You go outside, people selling drugs on your corner, people mean mugging, do all these other things. They make you scared to go out at night sometimes in the hood, right? That's a curse. God said those things that's happening to us as a people in the city is a curse. And when you look across the whole entire world, who is it that's living in those conditions everywhere? The who? Who are the people in the hood? The majority of the people, what race would you call them? Blacks, Hispanics, right? A whole bunch of our people everywhere you look in the world are living in those conditions. That's a curse according to the Bible. Keep reading.
Cursed shall thou be in the city, and cursed shall thou be in the field.
It said, cursed shall we be in the field. When you look at the history of our people, we are known for being in the cotton fields during slavery, the tobacco fields, the sugarcane fields. Those things right now are relevant to us because we're supposed to be looking to our past to figure out how we go as a future, how we go into the future, right? They said, cursed we're going to be in the city, and cursed we're going to be in the field. Some of our people across the world right now are still working in these fields. They out there in the sugarcane fields getting paid nothing. We got our people right now on the west coast of Africa, children. There are children your age out there picking, making money for the chocolate industry, working for Belgium and all them over there where King Leopold, where they used to chop off the kids' hands if they didn't bring enough of the resources back. It was to chop their hands off and keep them as souvenirs and things like that. And today in Belgium, they still have a company out there that makes chocolate in the shapes of the right hands of the symbolically representing those kids that was chopped off, the hands that was chopped off in that child labor. Those things are still happening today. Right now, they're still out there, the children doing child labor, going to get resources back, the bauxite, what you use to make your cell phones. You got the chocolate, the cocoa fields and all this other stuff. These are child labor for that. Our people still curse when it comes to being in the field. So these things are what? Are signs to let you know who we are as a people. Give me verse 32.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thy eyes shall look and fare with longing for them all the day long.
It said our sons and our daughters will be given into another people. When you look at the history, right? Once you go back, I'm not sure they teach you anything about slavery in school. When they come to slavery, what did they do to our people? They took our people over on slave ships, and then they separated us by taking our kids and separating our families, right? That's what it's talking about. It said our sons and our daughters will be given to another people, meaning they was going to have us in slavery. They were going to take our children, and we're going to sell them to another plantation owner in a whole nother state down south, way across to where we had no power to do anything about it. Even to this day, there's something called Child Protective Services, right? If Child Protective Services come knock on your mom and dad's house right now and say, look, we taking you from them, do your parents got any power to do anything against that? Because when they show up, they showing up with the police, and they're gonna be like, look, there's nothing you can do about it. This is a court order. You know what I'm saying? That's still happening to us. Remember, these are a sign. There's something out there called ICE right now, right? And ICE, what are they doing? They going door to door, finding the Hispanic families and separating them from their people, our sons and our daughters. Right now, at the border of Mexico, there's what we would call concentration camps or internment facilities where they have children separated from their mothers and fathers right now. Some to the degree of they can't even find their parents anymore. These things are a curse according to the Bible. This is letting you know that that's God's chosen people, the blacks and Hispanics, right? So that's what we're reading out this Bible. Give me verse 37.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 37.
Yep.
And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all the nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee.
So it said we're going to be an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword. Do you know what a proverb means? It means like a wise saying. Meaning, let's say, you ever heard that black folks like chicken and watermelon? You heard that before, right? That ain't a nice thing to say about us, is it? Because it's a stereotype. That's a proverb that people say about us. If you want to hide anything from a black man, you put it in a book. Because what's that saying? That's a negative stereotype. It's saying black folks don't read. Those things are put on us as proverbs. That's what God is saying. These things that are talked about us as a people because this is another form of a curse, right? And he said we're going to be a byword, right? You didn't know that your true nationality was an Israelite from the tribe of Judah. You was going by your byword, something that the other nations called you. They call you Black American, Negro, Hispanic, Puerto Rican. You know, Puerto Rican just means rich port. A port of riches, yes. Because when the conquistadors went to that land, they found that, oh man, we got rubies and diamonds and emeralds and all type of stuff just sitting on the beach, just sitting out here in the land. They got all type of crops and things in the field, and these people live over here. So when they came and took the Puerto Ricans and put them in captivity, that's what they called them. These people are Puerto riches because they're gonna go out there. We're gonna make them work in the field and gather all the riches for us, so we can take them back to our nation. So that's what Puerto Rican means, right? That's a byword. Puerto Rican's name is Ephraim, according to the Bible. So once again, this is a curse on our people to show you that we are God's chosen people, the blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans. Give me verse 48.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies.
God says his people going to serve their enemies. So there we go again. God said everybody not his people, and some of the people that's on this earth is the enemies of his people, right? They said we're going to be serving our enemies. What does that mean? That means when we go to sign up for a job, we go put an application in, who are we going to put our jobs towards? Are they our own people? No, right? Who's God calling? Our enemies. Because we serving them, right? Because we go there and we do the things to make the products that's going to make them money and keep them in power and keep them over us. It said we're going to serve our enemies, right? Keep reading.
Serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee.
God sent those people against us. They didn't just come over here and have the thought on their own. The reason why we going through these things, remember, is because God said if you keep his commandments, we're going to be on top. But if we don't, God going to put curses on us. So God sent these people as a form of punishment against us as a people. Keep reading.
In hunger, and in thirst,
What's going on, y'all?
and in nakedness.
What's going on? Y'all come and listen? Okay, all praises. Come on around to the front. You go to church at all? You go to church at all? Okay. In church, have they ever sat and showed you where you fit and who you are in the Bible? No. Okay, so that's what we are today. So that's why we got this sign. You see yourself on this sign? All right. Where you see yourself at? American Black, right? So Judah, okay, so y'all from the tribe of Judah. Y'all know that's the tribe Christ came from, right? All right. Okay, so we just showed this young man the true color of Christ, the true image of what he looked like. Never seen that in church, have you? That's what the Bible describes him as. We can go back and read that in a second. But what we're gonna do now, we're trying to identify our people. We're trying to show you where you fit in the Bible. According to the Bible, the blacks, the Hispanics, and the Native Americans are God's chosen people. Those are the 12 tribes of Israel that you read about from Genesis to Revelations, right? But that's not what's being taught to us in the church, right? In the church, they say God loves who? Everybody, right? According to the Bible, God loves the Israelites. So that's what we are here to show our people the truth. So give me, read what you got, verse 47. Watch this.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 47. Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies.
God said because us as a people, we don't serve him with joyfulness and gladness of heart for the abundance of everything, because the whole world was made for the Israelites, right? We don't know that because throughout our teachings coming up from slavery, we've been taught a doctrine that's been trying to assimilate us into everything, to gather all nations into the covenant that God made with his people, right? That's not what the Bible's talking about. What we read in this chapter right here is curses that God put on his people to identify us as a nation. So read this. We keep reading. He said you're going to serve your enemies, right? Who are your enemies according to the Bible? You can say it. Don't be scared. There we go. Say it loud. That's what I'm talking about. So-called Caucasian or the so-called white man, right? Because that's what we call them. A lot of people scared to say that when they come up here. So that all praises. They'll say, y'all look like y'all are aged a little bit. So y'all been through some things in this country. So I'm glad to see that. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got a little bit of wisdom to know these things. So read that again, because God said the other nations are our enemies. So watch this.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee.
So God is the one that sent our enemies against us. Because when you look at the world, right? When you teach you religion, when you teach you in Christianity and things like that, there's no consequence for anybody who's ever did anything wrong against another race of people. We came over here on slave ships getting whipped, beat, broke down, destroyed as a nation of people. They're still over there doing that to us today, colonizing our people in Africa, colonizing our people over there in Germany, France, wherever our people are scattered to. We always the ones suffering. And then they come and teach us a religion that shows you this man right here, and with this man come hugs and kisses, and everybody make it to the kingdom, and you ain't gotta do nothing, right? That's what that religion teaches. But what the Bible says is totally different. It's telling you, he said, because our people didn't serve God with joyfulness and gladness of heart, he sent his enemies against us, which y'all said proudly, I might add, that the so-called white man, the Caucasian man, right? But not just them at all, not just them, but the other nations as well. You got the Arabs, they set up they liquor stores in our neighborhoods, right? And what does that do to our people? Our people go there and get drunk, shoot each other in front of the stove, selling drugs and destroying each other as a people, because they know that our people are gonna sit up there and go in there and buy that stuff. So they making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year off the backs of the poor black man in our communities. Instead of going to where they people at, they come to us, the poor people, because we the ones suffering and we looking for a way out. So where we gonna go? We going to the liquor store. We getting our drink. We know the dope man there. We can get our weed. We can get our whatever our things that are vices, and try to heal ourselves from this world that are all the things that we're going through. They take advantage of that. That's an enemy of our people. The Chinese people, they come up and set up their Chinese restaurants in our neighborhoods, right there. Exactly. They come right. Who's all the people shopping right here? And they got the Chinese store right there because they know, like, where's the prime location where all the Negroes gonna go, so we can make money to send our kids to good school and college and things like that. Because those Chinese kids, you don't see them in the schools with our kids. No, they about to go someplace further out where it's more Caucasians or more of they people and things like that to separate themselves from us, because to them we just vermin. We just there to keep their businesses going and keep their community and their economies going, right? So he said we're gonna serve our enemies. Keep reading.
Verse 48.
Therefore
shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things.
He said, and he gonna send our enemies against us in hunger, in thirst, and nakedness, and a want of all things. So when we go to the grocery store, are we going to our own people to go buy groceries? No, right? Who owns those places? The white folks, right? When it comes to water, we want to get water. Where we got to go to? Who owns those companies? Who owns Dasani? Who owns Aquafina? Who owns Fiji? Everybody like Fiji. You know what I'm saying? Who owns those things? When you got to pay a water bill, who you got to go to? You know what I'm saying? These right here is the identifier to let you know that these happen in only one race of people. Keep reading. Because he said also in nakedness, right? So you got the Calvin Klein on. Who owns that? Calvin Klein, right? Who owns Columbia? Right? You got to go to your own people. What's going on? You have to go? Okay. Now look, you probably in a rush, right? We gonna keep reading. Keep going. Keep reading those flyers, bro. Take that flyer. Make sure you show it to your parents, and make sure you have them read it with you and go through these things. Read that. I'm gonna read you something real quick because today is the Sabbath day, right? Remember we just read in Deuteronomy 28:15. He said if we don't keep God's commandments, God gonna put curses on our people, right? Now I'm gonna show you a commandment that you're gonna break. We'll give you a decision after this that you're gonna break if you do it, because today is God's Sabbath day and there's requirements of what you're supposed to do on the Sabbath. Read this.
The book of Nehemiah, chapter 10 and verse 31. And if the people of the land bring wares or any victuals on the Sabbath day to sell, that we will not buy it of them on the Sabbath.
So today is the Sabbath day. What that is saying is when the other nations open up their shops and open up their stores on the Sabbath day, the Israelites are not supposed to go buying and selling. We're not supposed to do no commerce. So going to the store and buying something from them today will put you in sin. And that's the reason why our people is under the curses, because we weren't keeping the commandments. So the choice today is up to you. If you're going to be like, you know what, I'm going to wait till the sun go down tonight. When the sun goes down, the day is over. That means you could go buy, actually not today, because tomorrow is actually a new moon, which is another Sabbath. But normally on the Sabbath day, when the sun goes down Saturday night, you can go and buy whatever you want when the sun is down, when the day is over. But since we got a double Sabbath, so us right here, I know we prepared ourselves for 2 days to where we have everything we need for 2 whole days, so we don't have to go to the store. We don't have to go pay for gas. We don't have to go buy food and drink and things like that, because we know the laws and we preparing those things. Read what you got.
The book of 1 John, chapter 3 and verse 4. Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law.
Sin is talking about transgressing the law. Transgress means to go against, right? Read.
For sin is a transgression of the law.
Sin is the transgression of the law. That's the definition of sin according to the Bible. So God puts a law out there for us, our people to follow. If we break it, that puts us in sin. So sin, give me Romans 6:23. Watch this, because we telling you these things for a reason. Because these things right here is going to keep you out of trouble. Because remember you said, God to you when you first walked there, he said, God give you good luck, right? But watch this.
The book of Romans, chapter 6, verse 23. For the wages of sin is death.
He said your payment for your sin is death. So when you sin against God, that means God got the right to kill you. That's your payment. Because you're not supposed to be doing those things. And that's what we're out here trying to show you these things so we can keep you from death. We want y'all to live a long life, repent, get y'all things together for that time when Christ come back his second coming. Because when he come back that second time, it ain't for no hugs and kisses like this dude say. It's for fire and destruction.
We used to scream black power while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission, minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold, from Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.